to soccer, golf, and cross country. All of these seasons either just starting or getting ready to begin. But we'll start out with football, who opened up at home this past Thursday, a week ago today as we record this, and picked up a 24-0 win over Minot State. So we're joined by head coach Shannon Currier, one of the standouts from that game, sophomore receiver Marcus Gustaveson. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Good to be here.
And Coach, I guess we'll start with you. You certainly a lot of preparation going into that first game, and you are able to get the result you want. What kind of stands out from the way the team performed in getting that win on Thursday?
Well, obviously you can never beat a shutout, so having the defense play well enough to not allow any points to be scored was great. We ran the football effectively, and we're very effective in special teams. I just think overall, our players were very well prepared and had a lot of energy overall, and we're real excited about getting a win.
And the defense, certainly, as you mentioned, to stand out. You were able to reunite before this season with Craig Stern, who coached with you the first time you were here, brought him back as defensive coordinator. He had been at St. Olaf. Kind of what stood out to you about him, and what made you excited about bringing him back here to Concordia?
Well, he's very familiar with Concordia University and how things are ran here, and has been successful recruiting to Concordia, and just brings a different mentality to the defense, a real hard-nosed toughness mentality, which you need to have on defense. And then, more importantly, is he's got 20 years of coaching experience, head coach experience, defensive corner experience, so understands our scheme inside and out, and is just real good in preparation and paying attention to details. And I believe our defense will only make a lot of improvements as we continue to move forward.
What were some of the biggest points of emphasis coming into this year that you really emphasized with the team and sort of the weeks of practice leading up to the season?
I think really paying attention to details that started, back in last spring after our season, is just really trying to step up our attention to detail in all phases and all aspects, from coaches to players, and that's an ongoing thing. Every day we're trying to pay attention to the details of the various activities or various responsibilities that each of us have. So I think that's one. And then we always talk about being red, being relentless, enthusiastic, and full of desire. And I think that's another thing that's going to continue to be something we emphasize over and over, year after year, because that's really what it comes down to. This game is playing relentlessly, having a lot of energy, and we certainly have to want it more than our opponents, and that creates that motivation to do that extra work and prepare well enough to be successful on game day.
And going over to the offense, you had Maxon Hutton, who had gotten on the field for a decent amount of games last year, but this was his first start this past Thursday. How did you feel he did out there?
I was really impressed with Maxon. Very composed, on the sidelines. He doesn't let things get to him. I think he has great composure. He really made one mistake that we didn't like right before half there, but it was a learning experience. He's in his first start. He's going to continue to make a couple mistakes here and there, but he's going to be a heck of a player for us. He's got a lot of potential. He can throw the ball well. I think our players have confidence in him. And then at the same time, we're able to run our entire offense. He's a very physical runner. He's fast, and then he's capable of making all the throws. So we're excited about his future and what he did in his first start.
And Marcus, certainly you're one of the players that has to develop that chemistry with Maxon as he comes in. How have you kind of been working with him over the last several weeks, and kind of how you feel about that relationship, quarterback and receiver?
It's gotten a lot better. Just every day at practice, every time something goes wrong or something, we always talk about it immediately, find out what's wrong in the play, and just make it better, get ready for game day.
You certainly had a successful freshman year, led the team in catches, 5 touchdown receptions for you. So obviously I'm sure you want to build on that, though. How have you kind of been looking to build on what was a pretty good freshman year, get even better?
Yeah, I stay hungry. Freshman year I was kind of complacent, doing okay on the team and making plays. But this year definitely got to make a lot more of those and not be complacent at all or anything.
I think, any casual fan that just kind of looks at the roster, your size, the thing that jumps out. Don't see a lot of 6'5" receivers in this conference especially. Do you think that's the greatest asset you can use in these games, or what do you kind of feel some of your best skills are that you really try to exploit?
I definitely believe my size is my best attribute there. Just being able to match up with these smaller corners just seems like a matchup I can always win there.
And are there any kind of receivers you looked at growing up as you were going through middle school, high school that you really have tried to emulate your game after?
There is actually. I always think about it. In high school, I was a freshman, sophomore, junior. All those years I didn't play at all on varsity. His name was Matt Bigalski, really great receiver. He's about 6'4". Ended up going to Illinois State, just a really polished receiver, and did everything the right way, and always looked up to him.
Any kind of things you've taken maybe from his game or anything like that you try to use?
His composure, for sure. He would, no matter what was going on in the game, always be very composed and led the team, and very great leader.
Definitely. So, and then Shannon, I guess getting back to you too, as you look at kind of the rest of the schedule here. Now you have 4 games left in September. You go on the road this Saturday against Bemidji State, a couple big home games, St. Cloud State, Minnesota State. What kind of stands out for what the team will need to do to sort of build on this first win and have a good first month here?
Yeah, we're excited about our team. As we watch the video following the game, we are definitely a lot bigger, faster, more explosive overall. We were a little bit more conservative in our play calling early in the game just to get our quarterback in rhythm. Plus our backup quarterback, Trevor Till, was dealing with a root canal and problems from that. But we're going to be a lot more aggressive in our approach as we move forward, and Max is going to get more comfortable. But we just have to keep trying to improve. It's real easy to feel good about what you did, but in this game, it's all about what's next. And unfortunately, you get to enjoy the win for a short amount of time. You got to get ready for the next opponent. We have a lot of quality teams ahead of us. I think there's 3 or 4 ranked teams on the schedule that are in the top 25, so it's going to be challenging. But I also am excited about what this team can do, and we're going to have an opportunity to knock off some quality teams going forward. But going to your question about Marcus, he's definitely a mismatch nightmare for defenses because not only is he 6'5", but he's also elusive enough and plays much more athletic than most 6'5" receivers do. So strong hands, and we're certainly going to create some problems for teams because they have to determine how they cover him determines how they can structure their defense. If you don't put somebody on top of Marcus with a corner, that's dangerous for them. Yet if they do, it helps us in the run game too. So it's interesting how teams will come and defend us, including this week. We're excited to see what they're going to be doing.
Certainly be fun to watch over the course of the year, so good luck through the rest of the month. I'm sure we'll have you on again here in October.
Sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Shannon Currier and Marcus Gustaveson here as the football team will continue on through the month of September. Again, a couple more chances to see them at home this month. St. Cloud State a week from Saturday, Minnesota State the last weekend of September. And you can, of course, check out the full schedule at cspbears.com, right where you're watching the show here, as we'll be transitioning now to soccer. The soccer team also opening up over the Labor Day weekend. Couple of home matches this past Friday and Sunday. Ended up splitting those with a win over Maryville on Friday night and then an overtime loss to Lindenwood on Sunday afternoon. Soccer team staying home coming up this coming Monday. They'll wrap up the non-conference schedule, but we're joined by head coach Steve Bellis and junior forward Jordan Rowan-Stafford. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having us.
And, Coach, you got it going, as I mentioned, on Friday against Maryville, and a pretty balanced offense in that one, getting a 4-2 win. 4 different players scored. Were you pretty happy with what you saw out of the team and the goal scoring in that first game?
Yeah, I think so. We played them last year down at their place, and we knew it was going to be a good game, good physical game. So definitely nice to score 4 goals. We're a bit disappointed about giving up 2, but one of them was a very dubious decision. But overall, yeah, it was a great performance, high tempo to the game, and ultimately, if you get 4 different players scoring goals, it's always good. So yeah, it's great.
And then you had Lindenwood on Sunday, who you'd seen the year before also. Quick turnaround. What did you think about kind of the response you got out of the team in that game?
It was one of those. We looked a bit fatigued. We'd done 2 weeks of pre-season, and it looked like it on Sunday. Their legs were a bit heavy. We had a few players missing mentally. So it was a disappointing first 45. Second 45 was much better. And probably on the balance of things, we probably should have scored. We hit the crossbar, just couldn't quite finish. We had a golden chance with a couple of minutes to go that in theory should have gone in. So it's a heartbreaker losing in overtime, and it's difficult. I'm not a big fan of overtime, to be honest. I'm okay with the tie. It's a very American thing that I still struggle with, to be honest. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but overall the weekend was very positive, and we saw lots of good stuff. So
Mentioned the goal scoring on Friday, and you've had to work some new players into the lineup, but you do have Emily Nelson coming back in goal, who was your primary goalkeeper last year. Has that kind of made it easier on you guys to prepare a little bit, knowing you at least have her on the back end pretty solid back there?
Yeah, I think Emily's got progressively better each year. She's being pushed pretty hard by Jordan Clark, who's our second keeper at the minute. So yeah, she had a really good game Friday. But unfortunately made a little slip at the end on Sunday, and she needs to bounce back. Knowing that, we've got a good second keeper that's coming through. So yeah, Emily's a good kid, great student athlete, works hard in the classroom, works hard on the field, and is a player that's progressively got better with us over the years. So yeah, we're happy with it.
Unfortunately, you had to change up the lineup a little bit on Sunday with an injury to Katri Gifford. But are you fairly happy with kind of the roles everybody's in right now?
I think so. With respect to Katri, unfortunately, she's going to be out for a little while here with another knee injury, which is a heartbreaker. She's a fantastically hard-working kid. She put a lot of time in away from the soccer field this summer. She was in great shape. Mentally, she was ready to go, and it's a heartbreaker for her and the team that will be missing her. But ultimately, I think we've got competition for places in every position, which we've never had before. The squad's a bit deeper. I would say in every position we've got one or two players that could definitely do it, and in some cases 3 or 4. So yeah, we're in a healthy spot.
And Jordan, you had a goal on Friday, been one of the more consistent scorers for the team over the past couple of years. Were you pretty happy with the way the offense looked kind of starting out the year?
Yeah, I was really impressed. Everyone played good. There wasn't one specific player that stood out Friday. We played together as a unit, a team, and that's what matters, and that's how we got the goals we did.
And what do you kind of looked at to have the team get maybe a little more consistent offense this year throughout the season?
I just think more runs off the ball is what we need, and that's going to be the main thing is consistency this year. Sometimes we'll have bad games and sometimes we'll have off games, but we need to have good games the whole year. So.
It was pretty exciting to watch on Friday, especially Jade Weller had that great highlight reel goal on the free kick, and then after that, Mary Kaiser, pretty strong individual effort. You had a good individual effort on your goal. Did it feel kind of good to see some of your teammates going out there and doing that and being able to build off each other and get some of those highlight
Yeah, for
plays?
Sure. Yeah, it's good to see different players scoring because they all get a chance to have a highlight throughout the game, not just one player. And I hope that keeps continuing throughout the season. So.
Kind of always hear in different sports, maybe it's a cliche about a goal scorer's mentality. Is that something that you've kind of found that exists? Is there a certain way you have to approach it to really get those finishes and pile up goals?
I mean, yeah, in a way, but we're working as a team, and to build up to those goals is what matters, and, just placing it as you're in front of the goal. I just think that we all had composure on Friday in front of the net, which is what we need throughout the whole season.
And, Coach, for you, the team, as I mentioned, gets back at it on Monday. You play Viterbo. 4th year in a row you've matched up with them in the non-conference. What do you kind of like about their program as a way to get going for the conference season?
They remind me a lot of St. Cloud. That's why we play him, to be honest. And he's a good coach. He's well organised. And they're quite fast up front. They're always physical. And as we prepare for St. Cloud and Duluth, it's an ideal game to kind of replicate where we're at. Historically, it's always been a good game, a good battle. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Should be a cracker. Monday night under the lights. Hopefully we get a big crowd, and that'll push us on to the following weekend.
So you've had the 2 games to take a look at, one more non-conference, and what's kind of the biggest area for growth you want to see from the team before you really get into the thick of the conference season?
Yeah, I need this kid to kind of, score some goals for me, to be honest. I mean, that's ultimately what we're looking for. I think defensively we're solid. We have a really good foundation at the back, good goalkeeping. We have 4 or 5 good centre midfielders that are defensively solid. But and I've told the kids this a lot, the most difficult part of the game is scoring. It's really difficult at this level. So we need to kind of chip away at that, make sure, like Jordan says, that it isn't just one player scoring our goals. But I think that's kind of where we'll just keep chipping away and we'll get better at it, and ultimately we'll score more goals than the other team.
Well, appreciate you both being here, and good luck through the rest of the month.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Steve Bellis and Jordan Rowan-Stafford here on Golden Bear Insider, and the soccer team, again, the matchup with Viterbo, that'll start at 7 at Seafoam Stadium Monday night, so definitely encourage you to come out to that, and then the conference season getting going the following weekend. As I mentioned, with football, full schedule available, cspbears.com, and as is the case with football, didn't mention it there, but we'll have the home games. We'll be able to have the webcasts for you. You can get that through the same link you're using to watch this, so definitely tune into those games as well if you can't make it to Seafoam Stadium. But we will start with golf now. The golf team getting ready to begin their season. That will take place for both the men and women Monday and Tuesday coming up in Bemidji. So joined by head coach Taylor Ramirez, Noah Rasinski, sophomore, coming off a great freshman season. So we thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Coach, for you, the team, I'm sure, getting into practice here for a couple weeks, getting ready for this first tournament, and what have been your takeaways from what you've seen from the team so far?
I think the biggest thing is the freshmen are definitely stepping up. We have 3 girl freshmen and 5 men freshmen. So we didn't really know, how it was going to go having such a young team, but I think we're looking pretty strong. We've played some pretty tough courses this past weekend for qualifying, and a lot of people have stepped up, and I think it's going to be a good showing at Bemidji this weekend.
I know last year you worked in a decent amount of freshmen on the men's side especially. Did that kind of help you in preparing for this year, for knowing kind of what it took to work in some of those younger players?
Yeah, and I will say too, so Noah is a sophomore, he's a captain. So I think we have a really good young team. They're showing a lot of leadership, which is big too, kind of wrangling in the freshmen and showing them what it takes to compete at this level, and we set some really high goals for this season, and I think we are on the right path to reach those goals.
Kind of in preparing as well, what were the main things you wanted the players to work on over the summer?
Just being more consistent, I would say. A lot of them work with their own swing coach, and I think that is paying off a lot. And then short game, especially on the women's side, short game is huge. And then men just getting off the tee and keeping the ball in the middle of the fairway.
And Noah, for you, as I had mentioned, you had the big freshman year coming back now as a sophomore. What have kind of been your expectations for yourself going into the season?
Well, really just like to try to keep pushing myself, being one of the older players on the team and not having the seniors to look up to this year. It's really just kind of staying focused on what my goals are, and also like trying to help lead the freshmen, because it's a lot easier for me being a sophomore captain instead of the senior captains from last year, because we were there last year and I know what they were going through at this exact same time last year, and it's just I can really relate to them and help them try to prepare for these tournaments and the upcoming season.
What are some of the things you've been telling them about what they should expect, what they should be prepared to do?
Just mainly to stay like focused in school, so you don't have to stress about that when you're out on the course, and also to just kind of believe in yourself, and just if it's not going well, just don't lose focus of what the end goal is.
I'm sure as you were going through last year, you knew things were going well, knew the scores you were posting, but at the end of the year, named the conference newcomer of the year. What did it kind of feel like for you and mean to you to get that honor?
It felt really good, honestly. I'd played with a lot of the kids growing up in the summers and in high school that I competed against in the conference, so it just kind of felt good to, I guess, play a better season than all of my friends, I guess, from high school.
And certainly golf, everyone that plays that knows that can go away pretty quickly. It can run hot and cold. What are sort of the challenges for you to sort of keep at that level and keep everything going well in your game?
It's definitely just not being complacent and not ever being happy with where my game's at. I mean, you can go out there and play a lot of good rounds, and you can also go out there and get in a stretch and play a lot of bad rounds. So it's always just, no matter what you're doing, you always just need to push yourself.
Outside of being able to kind of keep the same mindset, be consistent, what were the biggest things you did last year that you really felt allowed you to have success specifically in your game?
I feel like I just didn't really let a lot of things faze me. We played in a lot of bad weather, and we played in a lot of tournaments in different states on different grasses and in different conditions, and I just kind of always try to stay focused on the next shot at hand and not try to get too caught up in oh, it's raining, or oh, it's 35 degrees outside, or it's windy, and just kind of kind of use that to my advantage over other kids who would struggle in conditions like that.
Coach, you mentioned earlier you've set some pretty lofty goals for the team going into this season. What are some of the things you'd really like to see them be able to accomplish?
The biggest thing, especially for the men, is to be in the top 5 in the NSIC at the end of the season, just seeing like scoring average and our head-to-heads and stuff like that. Being in the top 5, I think that will help us get some momentum going into the spring season and hopefully get a couple wins this fall. And I think on the women's side, one of their biggest goals is being in the top 12 in the region because last year we fell a little bit short of the top 12, and that's our biggest goal as an entire program, is to make it to postseason competition.
And as I mentioned, the team gets going here Monday and Tuesday with rounds up in Bemidji, both the men and women going up there. What teams are you going to be seeing? Kind of how will that tournament get you prepared for the rest of the season?
Most of the team, well, every one of the teams is going to be a conference team. So on the men's side, there's St. Cloud, obviously Bemidji, and those are kind of our bigger competitions, and Mankato. It's exact same for the girls. So Mankato is a big competition. And yeah, I think Winona's a big competition this year too. So we'll see those teams. There's only a field of 8 teams for the men and for the women. So it's not a big field, but it'll be a really good first tournament for both teams.
And you put out the fall schedule up on the website, a few tournaments on there. What are some of the other highlights fans can look to here for these first few tournaments?
On the women's side, we have our home tournament 2 weekends from now at Edinburgh Golf Course, so that's a big one we can look forward to. There's going to be 13 teams there, so a little bit bigger showing than last year. On the men's side, they'll play in the St. Cloud tournament, so that's a tournament where obviously we'd like family and friends to be able to come to. And then towards the end of the season, the men are playing in a Washburn tournament and MSSU, and those are pretty big regional tournaments. So those are 2 very important tournaments for us. So we're glad that we have a couple tournaments to warm up a little bit and get ready for those bigger regional tournaments.
Well, good luck coming up here over the next month. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon, but thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Taylor Ramirez and Noah Rasinski here. The golf team, again, will begin in Bemidji with rounds on Monday and Tuesday as we film this here on a Thursday. But we'll close out the show here this month talking to members of the cross-country team. Cross-country team having their first race of the season this past weekend, and we're joined by head coach Jonathan Breitbarth and freshman runner Carol Lindberg. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
And Coach, for you, the first meet, obviously coming off a year last year where the team took a pretty big step forward. The program had some success. Team running pretty well in that first meet. Did it exceed your expectations for what you had going in?
That first meet is really an opportunity to kind of see what was done individually over the summer. Cross country and the sport of cross country really is a team sport, and we really look forward to getting back together as a team and being able to do things together as a team. The first meet of the year, we're not as cohesive as we will be at the end of the season. So that first meet is really a time to see where we're at and how we can utilize each other. I felt like the runners did put in the work over the summer individually, and it was great to see a number of them take steps forward. Cross country leads into indoor track and outdoor track, so some of the performances this past weekend we kind of saw coming last April and May when they were on the outdoor track. But it was a great opportunity to get out there and compete together, and we've already seen some places where we can work together more in packs for our coming meet, because we kind of know where we're at from a competition standpoint in terms of each runner where their spot is on the team right now as they continue to grow. So.
And you've got some new runners on the team, certainly, but the returners that had some of that success last year, did you sense a little more confidence maybe from them coming into the season this year?
Yeah, to be honest, I actually was worried about some overconfidence that they had built that confidence. But I think that the fact that we have a number of individuals who are competitive helps keep each other in line. For the first time since 2014, we had a team camp where we went away. The last 2 years we've just been on campus. This year we went away to a retreat center, and one of the big things that came out of that was just our mission for the year, and kind of the 4 pillars are accountability, positive attitude, lifestyle, and doing things together as a team. So I think that confidence that they had is now kind of being gelled into those 4 pillars of doing this together and having a positive attitude about things and that type of deal.
Just looking at the rosters too, it does seem like, especially this year, over the last couple of years, though, you've been able to grow the rosters and get more student athletes out to run cross country. What has it meant to you to get more people participating in the sport?
You know, it's something where each athlete brings something different to the table, and I think having a larger squad just makes our team that much more impactful in terms of there are some that are more vocal leaders. There are some that really are disciplined in terms of what they eat and when they sleep. There are some who are always kind of helping to reinforce what we're doing now is going to help us down the road, and all those different type of factors. So.
And Kara, for you, one of the newcomers coming in here as a freshman, and as you were kind of going through your senior year of high school and everything, what attracted you about coming to Concordia, going to school here, and then running for the cross country team?
Yeah, well, I just when I came for my visit, I loved how I could see that the team here, especially the girls team, is really just in a building process, and it was just so exciting to see the potential that the next 4 years have, and I just wanted to be a part of building up a really strong program.
You're certainly able to adjust to it well, top finisher for the women in that first race on the team, but kind of as you approach your first race, how did things maybe differ a little bit from some of the races you ran in high school?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I was just excited for a fresh start with different competition where I can just really focus on where I'm at and gelling with the new team and just focusing on every day bringing a little bit more to the table and just a fresh start with new competition.
Whether it was in that first meet or the practices you've had so far, what's the biggest thing you've kind of learned to this point about running here at the college level?
I think I just need to keep listening to my body. The intensity and the amount of training has gone up a lot, and I think we all just need to be really aware of where we're at because injuries are so common, but the coaches have really given us every tool to succeed, and they're helping us make sure that we're being careful with our training.
And is that kind of the biggest thing to avoid that, just knowing maybe if you have a day when you're tired, don't try to push through that too hard, or what are some of the things you really have to kind of know to be able to avoid that?
Yeah, well, like I said, they've given us all these tools, and we there's so many options as far as cross-training and just communicating with them and working on figuring out a plan for each person. Like, our team is still small enough that the coaches really have time to invest in each of us and figure out a plan that really works for us.
And Coach, for you, as we kind of look at the schedule here, certainly the usual meets, the Roy Griak conference and regionals, obviously the standouts, but as you just kind of go through some of the different races, what sort of stands out to you about the schedule this year?
So this weekend, we're going to be going out to Milwaukee. It gives us a chance to do an overnight trip and kind of get into our routine of what an overnight trip looks like for our squad. We're doing something a little different where we're taking our women and our men to separate meets, allowing a little bit of identity to be created by each of the genders and by each of the teams. Third year in a row, we'll be out in the Milwaukee area, and one of the things we do with that trip is a community engagement. So this is the third year in a row where we'll be at a specific food shelf or food pantry there in the Milwaukee area. But it's kind of a time for us to get through our routine of what an overnight trip is like, because those conference and regional championships are those types of meets where we're doing overnight trip and that type of thing. Roy Griak is a meet that we've been to well over a couple decades now, and we always look forward to getting out there and competing, inviting those around the Twin Cities area to come out and watch us run. We've got our St. Cloud State meet early October, which gives us a chance to see some of the conference teams. We get to see them at the GRIAC, but we get to see them just them as opposed to the GRIAC. There's a lot of other schools, NEI schools, community colleges that are lumped in together. It's a little more of a focus on those specific conference programs. Our conference championships are up at MSU Moorhead this year. The last time the championships were held there, the course provided some faster times, and I know that the plan that we have set up will allow us to hit our best times there at the end of the season. And our regional meet will be Nebraska Kearney is hosting the regional this year, and that's a course. It's a golf course, but it's known for cross country. It hosts the Nebraska State meet for the high school league every year, and it's a fair course. It's got some hills that you need to traverse, but it's got open area in which you can take your packs and pass people together as groups and that type of thing, and you're not wedged into a small area. So that's our schedule looking forward. But when we talk to the athletes, our schedule really is, okay, what are we going to do today? Today is a mileage day, and let's focus on the process, and that's what we've got ahead of us immediately. And those other things will come as we get up to them.
All right, well, congratulations on the first meet. Good luck here through the rest of September. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you again for having us.
Head coach Jonathan Breitbarth, Carol Lindberg joining us here on Golden Bear Insider, and that'll wrap up the interviews for this month. And certainly didn't forget about volleyball after they came off the 4 big wins last weekend down in Florida, #1 in the latest national poll, but they're headed out to a tournament in Denver this weekend as we record this. So team not available to join us here for this month, but certainly good luck to them. They'll begin their conference season over the course of September as well, and we'll certainly try to get head coach Brady Starkey, one of the players, on next time we do the show. General plan will be to try to record these first Thursday of every month. I'm sure we'll have to deviate from that with schedules at certain points over the course of the year, but as we did with this one, we'll put a notice up on the website, cspbears.com, when one is going to be recorded. You can, of course, watch them anytime on the archives, as you're probably doing right now. We'll get those up on social media as well through the Concordia Athletics Facebook and Twitter. But do thank you for watching here for this first edition of the show this year. I want to thank the guests once again, Shannon Currier and Marcus Gustaveson from football, Steve Bellis, Jordan Rowan-Stafford from soccer, and Taylor Ramirez, Noah Rasinski from golf, of course, Jonathan Breitbarth and Carol Lindberg from cross country. We'll talk to you again next month. Thank you so much for watching.